All right, we're back here this early 3 o'clock hour. Craig, real quick news about Baylor's wide receivers coach has come out.
Yeah, it looks like Baylor, after a pretty, a couple weeks search with Chancey Stuckey going to Notre Dame, they apparently have made a hire, according to both Football Scoop and Sikkim 365, confirming Dave Aranda set to hire Buffalo wide receivers coach, and that's the University of Buffalo wide receivers coach, Dallas Baker. He played his college football at the University of Florida. He had also been at Marshall for 4 years prior to his short stint, his 1 year at Buffalo. So, yeah, Dallas Baker, a Florida native and Florida Gator, is looking like the new Baylor wide receivers coach, replacing Chancey Stuckey, who left to go to Notre Dame.
Was there for the Steelers for 3 years, and the year they won a Super Bowl. We're now joined by Pat Nunley, broadcast analyst for Baylor Radio, for Baylor men's basketball, about to fly out on the Big Bird here at 4 o'clock to Alabama. Pat, it's an SEC game. It's a non-conference game in the middle of the conference schedule, and it's not like it's the first time, but do you feel like it's a breath of fresh air, or is it kind of annoying to have a non-conference game right now?
Well, David, I think between those two, I would say breath of fresh air, because the team takes these games really seriously. Baylor is 7-1 in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, which is the best record for any team in the Challenge. So they like the opportunity. If they're going to continue to compete, and they are at a national level, and be one of the best programs in the country, this is another challenge for them, and it's another feather in their cap if they can get a win tomorrow.
Is it like you like the change of speed of not having to see the Big 12 also, why they can maybe even put some NCAA tournament goggles on for a little bit?
Maybe so. In the league, there are just no surprises. I mean, everybody is well scouted. You're going to play everybody twice. They know you pretty well when you play them the first time. The second time, they know what you're going to do when you're doing it. And so it's helpful, I think, to get out of the league. And, David, you're right, breath of fresh air. It's a different look, different team, different atmosphere. It's less of a grind. I don't think the stakes are any lower because it does have national implications to it. So I think they enjoy the challenge. I think they like doing it, gets them out of the grind a little bit, but still, this is one that they are just as serious about as they are about trying to beat Kansas.
Pat, over the last week, a couple of wins, 65-51 over Oklahoma out in Norman, and then 74-49 this past Tuesday against K-State. Any takeaways from just the past week of action and what they've looked like leading into this game against Alabama?
Yeah, Craig, that's a good question. My biggest takeaway is Kendall Brown. He's going again. I thought at Oklahoma he really made a difference. He was more assertive. He was aggressive, gets a double-double against Kansas State. And if Kendall Brown continues to do that, and it's not just scoring, but it's rebounding, it's defending, he's really shared the ball really well. In fact, he has 19 assists over his last 6 games. That's pretty good. So if we get Kendall Brown doing that, we got Sohan back. Del Bonner has come into his own a little bit, but I think my biggest takeaway is the sort of reemergence of Kendall Brown and then bringing Sohan back in. That's a really good group of guys down there. Chachua, Thamba, Myers down there a little bit, Brown, and Sohan. That's a tough lineup. And it's nice to have him going. One of the coaches said to Kendall, I kind of eavesdropped and overheard the conversation. He said, you need to make whoever is guarding you fear you, and to really not know what you're about to do to them. And when you kind of have that attitude, it doesn't mean you're out of control, but when you start playing like that and doing things that you do naturally that are hard to guard, you're going to take a step. And I think he's starting to do that.
I saw him just go to the rim one time and it, maybe not out of control, but in a forceful way. I don't even know if he made the shot or if he was fouled or whatever. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I think so, David. He's a 77% free throw shooter. So if he gets there, he's going to make them most of the time. It's that. It's, the things that he does in the lane and to finish at the rim are special. You just don't have many guys that have the athletic ability, and I'm talking about among elite athletes, to be able to do what he does. And he is a great kid. but I think, and because he's barely 18 years old, he has sort of a deferential attitude. He's deferring to the the upperclassmen and the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the coaches are saying, don't defer. Like, you own this just like everybody else does. But he's such a great kid. He's so unselfish. He has that tendency. And I think they're trying to get that attitude buffed out of him a little bit, and it's working.
Getting Jeremy Sohan back's big. He played 20 minutes the other night, and of course they didn't really need him to play much more than that because the game was in hand very early on. But is he maybe the new glue guy, Pat, when it comes to everything that he can do?
I haven't thought about that, but that's probably a really good description. Everybody loves him. Everybody adores him. Fans do, teammates do, coaches do. So he's got a charismatic kind of personality in an understated way. But we're 16-0 with him, and then we lost 2 without him. And that may just be coincidental. I guess what you could take away from that is we are much better with him on the floor than we are without. So glue guy might be a really good term to use. In fact, Paul, I might just steal that. If I do, I'll give you credit.
Well,
there you go.
Here, you can give me credit. I'll tell you this. I was good. I forgot to mention this. Evan Miyakawa sent me some stats. I'll send to you about the top 5 of the top glue guys in the country, and he's number 5 of all the guys. I mean, Oscar Shibaway's number 1. He's number 5. So I'll send you those stats so you can actually properly credit Evan Miyakawa.
Yeah, I will. And by the way, that guy's unbelievably good. I'm talking about Evan. I mean, those Jeremy. Wow, my gosh. I'm not an analytics guy. I don't figure them out. I use them. I study them. I like them a lot. But man, that guy is great. So yeah, share them with me, and I'll give full credit wherever it's due.
It's done. It's already on your phone.
Got it. Thanks.
Pat, what have you been able to see? I don't know how much you've been able to watch Alabama, how much you know about them. From what you do know about them, your thoughts on I know we talked to a reporter yesterday, the day before, and they've been in kind of a little bit of a funk here lately, but, they will be at home. It's a Big 12 SEC Challenge, a top team coming in, so I'm sure they'll be fired up. But your thoughts on the Crimson Tide program?
Yeah, well, what they did last year was pretty amazing. They won the league. Yeah, they won their tournament. They go to the Sweet 16. They were a really poor free throw shooting night away from advancing past UCLA and, maybe go to the Final Four. They lost 3 starters, but the 2 they have back are really good, and the cupboard's not bare, so they're really good. But you're right, they are in a funk, and I looked a little bit at them. They're 13-7 overall. They're 4-4 in the league, and they're coming off of a loss to Georgia that was a stunner. Nobody saw that one coming, and so it's a bad time to be really out of whack in terms of team chemistry and that kind of thing. But I think that's where they are. And like with a lot of teams, you just got to play your way out of it. They're a team that is going to get going at some point, I think. I just hope it's not tomorrow. I really love Baylor's chances. Baylor's playing really well right now, geared up for this game and the challenge, the SEC challenge. But this is an Alabama team that's struggling, but they'll find it. And when they find it, you're not going to recognize them, I think.
Well, yeah, and they had the wins against Gonzaga, others. Yeah, and no question about it. Tennessee, I think, is another one as well. And yeah, they're about to play Baylor, Auburn, and Kentucky. If they don't put it together, then it could be a spiral even more. I know, Pat, you got to go. Ought to be an interesting game. Baylor seems like they got their mojo back. They're playing with, as Jonathan Chamachacha said a week or two ago, that they needed to get their anger back as far as play that way. And it seems, doesn't it, that the energy and everything else, of course, winning helps that as well.
I think so. It helps everybody to stub your toe a little bit. In life, when you have a bad week, you just are on a roll where things don't seem to be going well. You learn from that. And I think the attitude right now is lost 2 in a row at home. What can we take away from that? What can we learn from that? And they have learned, and a couple of guys have started to play well. Del Bonner's one of those guys who they didn't really count on heavily. Is getting more minutes than they anticipated him getting this year. And until Akinjo gets back and going 100%, I don't know where he is today, we're going to need Bonner. But, yeah, I think that – well, I'll put it this way. Since that 2-game loss, they have played really well. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they found it. I'll say again, there are a handful of point guards in the country that can do what James Akinjo does. So in that sense, we need him. We really need him. And his numbers really support what I just said. We've survived without him, but we haven't played Kansas yet. We haven't played Texas yet.
Right.
Got to go to Lubbock, et cetera. And we need both barrels loaded when we do. And so hopefully Akinjo will get back sooner than later. And when he does, we might see that team that started the year 15-0. And I saw something just recently that said Baylor has more top 10 wins than any team in the country. So we're talking about the same Baylor team. So hopefully we'll get it going again tomorrow and get into the second half of the Big 12 fully loaded and ready to go and compete for a championship.
All right, be safe. Pat Nunley,
all right,
color analyst. Yes, thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. Baylor
Thanks,
Radio
guys.
with us.
Okay.
Oh, love the insight he gives us, and we get it a lot more than we probably have deserve at times. Kendall Count will join us in a little bit less than an hour. His thoughts about it, the X's and O's as well. And then Jerome Tang on the trip and whether or not the game like this is a kind of an interruption or is it a breath of fresh air, and his thoughts about what Jeremy Sohan has brought to the table since he's been back.
Yeah, here's the graphic that Evan sent me, by the way.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I don't know if you could probably see it better than we can on YouTube, but the top 5 in the country glue guys: Oscar Tshiebwe at Kentucky, Dalen Terry at Arizona, Justin Moore at Villanova, and Jeremy Sohan at Baylor. And he uses the Bayesian performance rating, which measures overall player impact using individual stats and on-court impact.
This is above and beyond what you see sometimes as far as the numbers, right?
Yeah, so like this is how good the offense and defense is when he's on the floor statistically, or all these guys. So AJ Griffin from Duke is number 5, Fabian White Jr. So if you kind of see a theme of all these guys right here, none of them are the number one guy on their team. The number one, the one that you think of right away when you think of Kentucky. You're not thinking of Oscar Tshiebwe necessarily, although Kentucky has a lot of good players, but he's the glue guy of Kentucky, and he's a fantastic player. And I'm not surprised he was the most sought after guy in the transfer portal last year when he left West Virginia. But yeah, you see, I said he was 4 or 5. He's actually 4th in the country.
Yeah, and Evan, I asked Evan to come on about 2 weeks ago. He's in the middle of something with his doctorate that he has to get through the month of January.
Get
I know. I mean, he could have just done what I did and go to Stephen F. Austin.
Well, can't you just, do what I did and like pound a beer, write a paper, pound a beer?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
That's how it worked in Tallahassee.
I agree.
One note on Dallas Baker.